Everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course, as always, to my right is the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
Matt, he said 3, 2, and then he didn't say 1.
Crap.
He didn't say 1. So are we on the air or are we not on the air?
I think so. I'll be honest with you, I'm not good at math.
Right. But 1 is typically...
The
low.
loneliest number.
It is the loneliest number.
Mm-hmm.
The loneliest numbers, except for the number 2.
I don't get
One
that.
is the loneliest number.
Can I just quickly, in case anyone didn't see the show last week, if you missed it last week, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper presented me with my very own hand grenade.
Oh, yeah. That's wicked super cool.
It really is. And I just pushed that once, I swear to God. It really does.
We're pretty childish, you know.
Right there. Well, we're boys.
I know.
We never really grow up.
Darlene, is that pretty much typical of all men or just us?
It's probably typical. But
It's typical.
You probably live longer. Just to relax and be yourselves and be comfortable.
Well, not statistically.
No.
No.
Well, I didn't mean then women. I meant as men.
Then-
if you allow yourself
right.
to be
Compared to
childish.
the other ones who take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's where I was
okay.
going with that.
Okay.
Darlene Pollock is our guest. Now, I screwed up. I know you were involved in something for the one.
Save the one.
Save the one.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you in that organization now?
I'm the vice president of Save the One.
Oh,
I'm
vice
on the,
president. Okay,
I'm on
okay.
the board, so I am
Because
on the
I
board.
looked
of
at
Save
your
the One.
Facebook and it said former
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
executive director or something like that, and I didn't understand. So I said, "Oh, well, maybe she's changed her."
My status did not change. I don't know where it came from.
Maybe you've been hacked.
Maybe.
It happens. I
don't
think I
think
was
so.
hacked recently.
Really?
I think so.
To what? Pieces?
Yes, I had to be fully
hate that.
reanimated. And,
I know.
a lot of glue and duct tape holding me
Look,
together
duct
now.
tape is a wonderful thing. So anyway, Darlene Pollock is the vice president of Save the One, and we're having her on here for one reason. This is National Right to Life Month, right?
It's Respect Life Week. I'm not sure it's the month, but it's
Okay.
Respect Life Week.
And on this show, it's the month, so
Okay,
Right, yeah.
cool.
whatever. We can do what we want.
That's
we do What
right.
we want.
That's
We're just
true.
pretty much.
Well, I like
Pretty
the month.
much.
We could do it all month.
Month, week, whatever,
Last-
years if you want.
Oh wait! Before we get started, we got to talk about. Matt has a confession to make about your racism.
I apparently am a racist. I have been deemed a racist. So all of you who think I'm the liberal one around here, apparently I am not, because I am a racist. It has been decided.
It has been decided, not by you.
Not by me. I didn't want to be
Not-
a racist.
the
I didn't
thing
think I
is-
was, but I've been deemed by a person of color as a racist.
Oh, I didn't know she was of color.
Yes, that's why she was so offended by my Facebook post, which she then read into and turned into something that it absolutely was not. She has that prerogative.
Yes. Now let's explain the racist comment that you make, because the thing is, as a co-host of this show, you kind of reflect badly on my show.
Right, yes.
Not that the show could be more badly than it is, but anyway.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
All right, well, so here's how it started. So Monday was Martin Luther King Day.
Yes.
I'm at the post office using the automated postage center, which
Right.
I love because I'm an eBay seller. So I'm there, I'm doing my thing, or I'm trying to. The woman in front of me is having a great deal of difficulty using this machine.
Right.
Because to use this machine, you have to be able to follow very simple instructions. And a lot of people have trouble with that. So I took my phone, I
I'm
went
a
on.
guy. I don't look at instructions, so it could take me a long time.
Right. So you
Right.
should avoid that machine.
No, I would not go to that machine.
So I pulled out my phone. I did my little Facebook rant about how isn't it frustrating that some people don't have any common sense because it makes life harder for the rest of us, etc.
Now, was this woman? What color was this woman?
She was white.
Oh,
She
so
was
you
white.
hate
So
white
I was
people.
not yet racist at this point.
So the fact that you hate white women is okay.
Right. That just
Okay,
makes me a
all right.
misogynist, I guess, or
Misogynist.
something. So, I did that little rant. Then I followed that up with, because the next thing that happens as I'm standing in line waiting for this woman to figure out how to read, this young African-American lady walks in realizes that the post office, the lobby is closed because there's a big sign that says closed for Martin Luther King Day. And she's completely baffled by this. And that just struck me as kind of funny.
It is funny.
The irony of that, this young African-American lady probably says something about our school system that, she doesn't realize that everything's closed federally for Martin Luther King Day. So I made a comment about that on Facebook.
How dare you?
I know, right? So then a apparently former friend of mine who happens to be African American sees this post and is very offended by it and starts calling me a racist.
Right, which would be okay if she confronted you and you said, no, I'm not. I just think that, and explain the irony.
Right.
But then she goes on to do what? She started attacking, telling other people that you're associated with.
Right, now she's slandering me to people I've done business with, telling them I'm a racist and all this. I haven't really endeavored to engage in much of a dialogue directly with this person because two things. One, I don't suffer fools gladly, obviously, as evidenced by my frustration at the automated postage center. And number two, I'm very busy.
Right.
So for me to go out of my way to explain and justify myself to a moron isn't something I'm going to do. So I just blocked her and unfriended her and all that.
Okay.
Which makes me more of a racist, of course, because I just
obviously
called her a moron and she is a person of color. So
yes, because obviously you can't. But you.
I'm going to go home and throw on a white sheet at this point. I might
Right.
as well, really. I mean,
But what do you? Well, you should put on a black one too, because you hated that white woman who was
That's
in front
true,
of you.
yes.
So you have to,
I should just be a Nazi skinhead because they kind of hate everybody.
or just hate everybody. You don't have to join a group to do that.
Well, that's true.
A lot of people go around hating everybody around them
That's true. Yes.
and everything around them.
Yes. Yes. I like that idea. Consistency. I like the consistency of it.
Right.
Because I never have to wonder. Should
But
I
if
hate
you hate
this?
everybody, regardless of what color they are, then aren't you by definition not racist?
That's true. That's equal opportunity hate.
Right.
Wow. It really does come full circle.
It does. It's not easy. It's not an. Oh, speaking of Martin Luther King Day, I have an 11-year-old grandson, a 9-year-old grandson, and then there's a 3-year-old granddaughter. And they were Monday, Martin Luther King Day. They're in the car with my wife heading to Chuck E. Cheese,
Yeah.
and my granddaughter says, "I had a dream." And then the two boys started chiming in about that one day and she had no idea what they were talking
Right,
about,
that's
obviously, but it was just wicked funny.
Did you tell that story on Facebook?
No,
Because you know it'll happen if you do.
no, I'm not friends with that woman. I don't think.
Doesn't matter. Somebody else will get upset. There's always somebody.
Somebody I know
There's
always
always
somebody
somebody.
gets. I actually posted something yesterday that I was actually wondering if somebody was going to get upset by, because I do that a lot too.
Should we grab this call
Yeah,
first?
let's
We'll
see
grab
if
this
there's
call.
somebody who's upset.
Probably. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Well, we're just wondering, does your white Jewish girlfriend know about your sudden change to racism?
Well, she's going to find out when I go home and throw on the white sheet.
Oh, so I guess
She'll probably be very
that
upset with
one's
me.
out the door, huh?
What?
I guess that one's out the door.
I guess so. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, he didn't say he had anything against people based on their religion. It's just their color. So if she's
That's-
white,
But if you're going to be a racist, right, doesn't the definition of a racist based on, not just color, but, usually that's kind of goes hand in hand with
no. He just hates people based on the race and or color, not necessarily their religious origin. I mean, you could say that Jewish people are a race, but that's kind of they're
Well, they
multi.
are a race.
Yes and no, because they have different. There's like the Ethiopian Jews, and so yeah.
No, that's all separated.
Right.
You understand that that's all separated out.
I mean, who really knows what the 12 tribes of?
descent or that's getting into more specifics, but it
Because
is a
no,
race.
not really, because you have the 12 tribes. How do we know that all 12 tribes are necessarily of?
Well, you're only
What,
looking
white,
at it
olive?
from that aspect. You're not looking at it from the Jewish aspect of Ashkenazi versus something else.
Right.
I would just like to point out this in my own defense. I myself have been mistaken for Jewish because I get this little bump here. I don't know if you ever noticed that. So
No, I don't actually notice. Now
So-
that you do, I didn't. Oh,
I may be Jewish for all I know.
Well, theoretically, we all are.
Well, then you'd be self-loathing, according to this person.
Yes.
Right. Well, no, because he does. Well, he hates. I think he only hates women of color, regardless of what color that is.
Yeah. I
So
actually.
far, you've had disdain towards white women and colored women. So therefore, you hate all women of different color, but not so far in a Native American Indian women.
Yeah. No, they're all right with me. I mean, you
right,
know, so far.
So now you need to find a.
It sounds like you unfortunately dealt with somebody that had way too much time on their hands.
Yes, I would say the individual who got upset with me does have a lot of time on her hands and was probably inebriated at the
So
time.
I think he's probably going to have to find a woman to date that's actually of Native American Jewish descent.
Ooh, that's very specific.
Yes.
Well, then that's two different races. So, I mean, if he's a, racist believe in purity, so there has to be purity. So you can't be two.
Well, whoa. You mean you can't be racist?
She's
if
got
you-
a point.
Yeah. Well,
got a
no.
point.
Yeah, but I don't know that all racist. It's kind of. Is that racist to think that all racists are hung up on purity?
That seems racist against racists.
Does seem to be what
It's a
mantra is,
stereotype.
isn't it?
Why are we stereotyping racists?
Yeah.
That seems wrong to me.
What do you got against racists?
Actually, they're racist American is the correct term.
Racist? Yes.
No, guys.
All right. Thank you. See you at home.
So anyway, what do you? That's what you wanted to come on and talk about, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, so I don't know if anybody in the audience knows about, and I'm not really a sports guy,
Yeah, me neither.
but the whole deal about the Patriots, supposedly there's 0.2 of a pound lower in pressure. The footballs, there was like 11 of them, I believe.
Oh, I heard something about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, 2 full pounds.
2 full pounds.
I thought it was like 1/10 of a pound or something. Okay. So anyway, how does it benefit one team or the other if the footballs are less inflated?
Easier to grip and squeeze.
Right, for both teams.
Easier to grip and squeeze for those of you at home who can't.
Their own balls. Each offense uses their own balls.
Each offense uses their own balls. Their own balls, says Sean in the control.
That
came out wrong.
that sounds that sounds like a good idea, I guess.
Yes.
All right, so we're not going to talk about that because I have no clue. But
I mean,
I don't.
yeah.
I don't think we want to go down
Plus,
this road.
I just kind of messed it up a little bit.
Yeah, a
so,
little bit.
Yeah.
Darlene, so
Yes.
so how did tell everybody what happened last Saturday, because that was pretty cool.
Last Saturday was very, very cold.
It was wicked
It
cold.
wasn't just cool. It was very, very cold.
8 degrees when I headed over there.
It was 4 degrees at the landfill.
At the landfill, it was 4 degrees.
And very windy by the river there.
Yeah.
Very windy. So for that kind of temperature and condition, we had a pretty good turnout. It was very short, about 15 minutes. But we left there and we went over to the State House. Actually, there was a mass in between, and then we went to the State House. And there, would you say it was 8 degrees at the State House?
Yeah, when I headed over, it was because it was like 11:30 to 11:45. I think was everybody met up at the State House, and that's what I headed over for. And I think just before I got into Concord, it was like 8 degrees out.
Yeah. And so the bishop came. That was the first time I've seen the bishop come. I've been to.
I've never seen one there.
Yeah, I've been to 16 marches, and that's the first
Wow.
time I've ever seen the bishop come. So that was kind of cool. And Garrett Lear, the Patriot pastor, spoke. He always does. He's first on site. I'm so grateful for Pastor Lear. He's first on site.
He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
He was one of our first guests.
Yes, he was.
Boy, did he love me.
No, he didn't.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. Probably because he knew you were racist.
Probably. He
Yeah,
knew
it must
before
have
I
been
knew,
it.
and yes.
Yes, sorry. That wasn't one of the more fun shows.
Okay.
I thought it was fun.
Anyway, sorry. So
That's okay. Then Jane introduced herself. And
Jane
then Catherine.
Cormier was there. Yep.
Jane Cormier is our new president for New Hampshire Right to Life this
Right.
year. She was newly elected. And so she spoke and she introduced herself and talked about the fact that we have new office space, which is really cool. We're going to be
Right.
in Concord.
Yeah, where in
It's the
Concord
first time.
is the office? When is it open?
It is not open yet. We're just starting to move in, probably 2 weeks. And Mondays and Fridays are the expected days. But we do have a telephone number, and we are always available by email. We have contact information on the website for each of us.
Right.
And so that's right on Main Street. You asked where it was. It's on
Okay.
Main Street. It's, if you know where the Flagworks is?
Yes.
8.
Yes.
So it's number 8 Main Street.
Okay.
And that's where we'll be. And then Catherine Adair spoke, and Catherine used to work at the Planned Parenthood across from the university. No, Boston University. Excuse
Right.
me.
Right. She was in
University.
Boston. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal testimony. I'd never actually heard. You know, we always talk about the. It seems like it's at most of those things I've gone to. It's more spoken of in the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Then she got very specific because she was working at one of the clinics and told what she went through.
Yeah.
And because there might be kids watch, I'm not going to really go into
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
but basically, she was in the room, cleaning up after, and started having nightmares all the time. And it wasn't until, and she was a dyed-in-the-wool feminist.
Yeah.
And that's why she went into Planned Parenthood, after she got out of college. And then she went into the room to clean up after she had already been taught how to prep women for, not prep, but, as a counselor for these women and go in there, hold their hands and stuff like that. But she had never been, had to clean up after a second trimester.
Oh, okay.
And it was hideous, and she said she had had nightmares way before that even started happening. Even though in her mind she was convinced what she was doing was the right thing for women.
Right. She really wanted to help women. That's why she went into that role.
But somewhere in her psyche, it was tormenting her all the time.
Interesting.
Because she had also had an abortion when she was 18, because I think it was when she was 18, right? She said
I thought it was 17, but
17, but anyway, she knew when she was younger, because she believed that if she had a child, it would ruin her any possibility of going to college, and
Yeah.
and her mother was there, encouraging it and stuff like that. So it was quite a revelation. She.
when Catherine speaks, you can hear a pin drop on the rug. She speaks eloquently, and she allows great pauses. She'll give you some really, really tough information, and then she gives you enough time to process that information.
Yeah.
She allows your emotions to catch up with what she's saying because it's extremely emotional, and then she continues. So you're able to stay with it, but that makes it for a very quiet room.
Yes.
A very quiet room.
Yeah, it was tough. I had never heard that kind of testimony before, and
Yeah.
and to I actually wanted to ask her. I still got her phone number. I was going to ask her on the show, but when I went up to see if she wanted to come on, she also said she was going to DC, so I knew she wouldn't be at least available this week.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah, that would be great. She's not far. She's down in Massachusetts, so
Yeah.
I've asked her to do numerous things around the state,
yeah,
and she's always been up for that. So that would
she's
be
a
good.
pretty cool lady.
Yeah,
Really tough, because the thing is it's like. It seems like she must have some sort of post-traumatic stress from all that, because it's got to mess with your head a lot.
yeah. She went through a lot. It's been a while, so she's doing well, and she's also dealt with it in very productive ways. She's got a few kids of her own, and she's adopted, and so she does a lot of outreach and stuff like that. And her kids are amazing, adorable, cute kids, just terrific.
So anyway, tell us more about what you're doing as far as Save the One. Now, how is that affiliated with?
I'm actually on 4 different boards: New Hampshire Right to Life Educational Trust Fund, New Hampshire Right to Life PAC, Those are two.
Yeah.
They are technically separate, but they're obviously New Hampshire Right to Life, so they're similar. And I work with a lot of the same contacts. And then I'm on the Personhood Alliance board. For Personhood Alliance is the newly formed entity, kind of out of Georgia, but it's national, and we have 13 states that are.
Is that the impetus behind the bill I'm going to hear tomorrow in judiciary, or is that?
No. Warren,
Okay.
you were talking about Warren Groen's bill, Life Begins at Conception. The idea of personhood, yes.
Right.
The Personhood Alliance having any impact on him to do that? No.
I thought it was JR's bill tomorrow. In judiciary.
You are absolutely right.
Whoa! Once in a row.
You know your stuff.
Once in a row. Okay, did Warren Groen introduce it last time?
Oh, he could have.
Okay,
That's
why I'm sorry. I had it mixed up.
No, Warren introduces stuff like that also. I mean, he's one of the bills that I've introduced since like 2000 is to eliminate no-fault divorce for couples with minor children. But this year I was pretty positive it was going to be Bill O'Brien speaker. So I said, why don't you do it, because you get along with him better. Because having the right person on that as that lead sponsor is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't turn out that way, though.
No, it sure didn't.
No.
Huh?
Whatever. You play the cards.
Right, right.
Right.
But he and I have been working on that one for a long time. So this is another type of bill that he's heavily involved in. So that
Right.
makes sense that you would presume that.
Mm-hmm. And then the fourth board is the Save the One, which we were just talking about. So I'm
Okay.
on Save the One as the vice president. And what we do primarily is educate pro-lifers about the exceptions in the law, like rape and incest and fetal anomaly. That's our primary mission.
Right. Yeah, because that's one of the huge arguments. You know, as a guy and a legislator, when I was first in the legislature, I was pro-life, but I still had a hard, queasy time when people would say, "Well, what about in the case of rape?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't until I met you that issue got put to rest. Not that I would vote that way, because I knew how I was supposed to vote, but I didn't feel as comfortable about it until I met you.
Right. For a lot of people, it's a confused compassion. They feel really bad for the woman and believe that it's better for her. But I've known women who've gone through with pregnancy that were raped, and that others that have gone through abortion when they've been raped. And the ones who've gone through with the pregnancy, whether they gave that baby up or parented, have all had an easier time of it. My one friend, her name is Ashley, and she said that the abortion was far worse than the rape. The rape was a hard one, but she said she got over that much easier than she did the abortion. It was very difficult.
I know.
Serious.
I as a guy, I would never in a million years be comfortable telling any woman, you know, your options are limited to you have to have the child, and you know, if you want to give it up for adoption or whatever, that's fine, but you have to have the child. I could never say that to any woman. I, as a man, I'll never know what it's like to be raped and be pregnant from a rape and all that. So I could not do it. I could not do it.
Yeah.
I could never make that judgment.
Yeah, well, I think I understand that, but it's also...
Well, hopefully you'll never have to be in a position where you have any influence to do that. So,
Right.
No, I actually keep asking him to run for state rep. I probably shouldn't, though.
Right. Well, you know how I'll vote on this.
Well, now that you're obviously a racist.
Now that I'm a
too,
racist,
I don't know how you're going to get elected.
That changes everything.
That changes everything. But no, I mean, the thing is once you get into this and realize that it's not really a woman's choice because there's the baby involved. And what
Right.
about the baby's choice?
pregnancy is temporary, and what a pregnant woman from rape needs is she needs the comfort and counseling. She needs to heal from the rape. But usually she'll do better. Like I said, I've known quite a few women now because I've gone around the country in different places and spoken, and I have a lot of contacts now with women on both sides who have done both, had an abortion or not, and they pretty much do way better whether or not they parent to just carry the baby to term, and it's always better for their bodies too. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the adverse reactions or.
Well,
Sure,
we got a
we do-
caller,
we have
so
a call.
Oh.
I'm going to cut you off there a second.
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hello, is this Edward Sapienza?
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Yes, I just wanted to call and say that some of your comments appear a little bit concerning to me. I've been told that once you were one of the meanest, baddest, ugliest mother lovers east or west of any major river. That's what I've been told.
Wait, who are you
Yeah,
talking
there's
to?
3 of us.
Yeah.
This would be Gary Francis, Bucky Bud, calling in to wish you and your show good times and spirits.
Okay. Who are you talking to, though?
Edward Sapienza.
No, Ed. Who were your comments directed at? Me or Matt?
No, I was looking for Ed.
Oh, you're looking for Ed. Oh.
Oh.
What time zone are you calling from, sir?
New Hampshire.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you own a clock?
Hey, anyway, be nice. Be nice. No, that's not where is somebody is there a guy named Ed that's on
Yeah,
later?
Ed, from the Ed and Joe show.
Oh.
He does the show with
What time?
Joe Kelly Lavasser. That would be
I
at
saw
8.
a thing on Facebook that said that the show was at 6 o'clock.
Oh, no.
And I'm actually a fraternity brother of Ed's from about close to 30 years ago, so I just wanted to call up. And
What time is Ed's show?
Facebook, it
It's
said that
called-
the show came on at 6 o'clock.
No, call back at 8 p.m.
Yeah, his show starts at 8.
Yeah, apparently I don't own a clock, but
You should
thank
get
you.
one, sir. You're welcome.
Hey, have a good day.
I wish all of you well.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, I thought I was getting insulted for.
See, that's never, you know what, that's never happened. You know what usually happens is someone calls too late thinking it's Norm, because we've had that happen where someone calls for a psychic reading because they think Norman Friends is still on.
I should make something up.
I
We should
know,
have
right?
something like canned that we can use,
Yeah.
like a generic psychic reading or something.
Sure, just something prepared. Yeah. But that's the first time anyone's ever called for a show that's on later.
Oh, you know what we could do? We could have like a whole stack of fortune cookies. Just start opening them up.
That's a good idea. I don't like fortune cookies. The last one I opened, the thing inside said, "In the end, we all die alone and afraid." And I was like, I'm not going to.
No, it did
It
not.
really did.
It didn't.
It was a terrible day. Well, I deserve it.
no
I'm a
way.
racist.
Yeah, of course you
Yes.
do. But no, there's no way you got that out of. You're full of bludgeon. So anyway, So anyway, you were saying that the ramifications of the abortion are
Yeah, there's a lot of complications.
physically or more emotionally,
both,
everything.
Both. There's a lot, both. Yeah.
Yeah, because Kathleen or Catherine was speaker.
Catherine on Saturday was
Yeah.
our speaker. Catherine Adair.
Okay. Yeah, Catherine. One of the things she was saying was that most of the girls go in there, and they're a lot of them are like screaming to try to get the doctor and stuff to stop.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
stuff.
it is, even at the time, definitely emotional. If not, I don't know if anybody goes in there and just says, "Oh, that's a nice day. Let's move
yeah,
on."
no, it's pretty violent.
Right. So you've gone around the country actually speaking about that, about the.
Yeah, I mean, I was on James Dobson's show last
Okay.
summer, and in Michigan, Lansing, Michigan, and Atlanta, and, a little bit.
So we probably should be paying her.
Connecticut.
All right.
That'd be nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
going to do a women's ministry, a seminar, not a convention, just a seminar. So it's like one night, and then I'll go to the college. But that's on trafficking and not abortion, which will be a little different for me. I have only spoken to youth groups a couple of times on prevention for trafficking. So
Yeah.
that's going to be like a new thing for me. I've done the education part
Right.
of it, and of course I've lived through it, so
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
both ends of that.
Right.
But this will be cool. So that's opening up
Does
in
it help?
April.
Does it help you over time to get out and speak about these things that have happened to you, so that it's
Absolutely, especially when it's prevention, because what I was saying about Catherine was she's done a lot of proactive things to help with her healing. And so when you're healed of something, like if you think of cancer victims, they're all like, wearing the bracelets, they're all pumped up and telling other people, you can go through this, you can get through it, you can get on the other side. And so that's a big part of my message, is that you can get through it. You can go on to the other side.
Yeah.
When women are pregnant from rape, you say that you would have a really hard time saying, you should do this. But for me, I'm like, oh no, you can definitely do this, and you can get through it with dignity and honor, and you can get on the other side and be just stronger for it. You really can.
I think that's a great thing to be able to say. I just would not want to legislatively limit. I would not be comfortable with legislatively limiting a woman's options in that horrific instance. Let me put it that way. I think it's great though that you impart that message, having been through it, and that's wonderful. I just could not. Well, I already said it.
Yep, you did.
Yeah, you did.
I don't want to belabor it, but
Yeah. So what else you got on the fire? What's going on?
Well, I actually haven't read all of these. I was hoping that if you asked me, I would have them with me so I could say anything. But since we really haven't touched on them too much,
No.
So
Because we got, you got the whole list of stuff that's coming up?
Right, yeah, there are 10 bills altogether here, and tomorrow...
Do you have anything on trafficking this year? I know we had
I didn't see
something in
anything.
judiciary, I think last term.
Yeah, last term. I didn't see anything this year. And the other thing I asked a couple of people about this year was the safe haven law. Our safe haven law in New Hampshire is 7 days.
What is that? Explain a safe haven law.
Okay, it's like they also call it a baby Moses law. So let's say this teenage girl has kept her pregnancy secret and she's managed to have this baby. The baby's alive. Instead of killing the baby or abandoning it in a trash can or something, she can bring it to any police department. She can bring it to a fire station, or she can bring it to a hospital. And it's called No Name, No Blame.
oh,
So she can just leave the baby there in a safe place,
Right.
and she won't be prosecuted for
oh,
abandonment.
that I would absolutely support.
Right,
Yeah,
that's a terrific,
fantastic.
Yeah, but in New
idea,
Hampshire, it's
yeah.
only 7 days.
Yeah.
So like it seems really it's short compared to the rest of the nation.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Where is it? Other
yeah.
places? typically?
It's sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60, sometimes it's 90.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what we find, my friend in Indiana is very big on this in Indiana. She's constantly telling people about it. She goes and she teaches people in hospitals and schools about the safe haven law and what it really is about and everything. And one of the things she says was it does save babies because they get dropped off there instead. But what they're finding is the babies between the ages of I think she said 3 weeks and 6 weeks, those are the most vulnerable times. Because that's when the mom has just had her fill. She can't take it anymore.
Sure.
If she's of the mind and she doesn't have the support system around her,
Yeah.
that's the time when she's thoroughly exhausted.
Yeah.
The hormones and the adrenaline aren't there anymore kicking in and helping her to get through.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of postpartum depression comes in, and that's where they're finding the age of the kids being abandoned. So one of the things that I'd really like to see, which isn't on this list, would be to improve our safe haven laws.
Well, if you want, I think it would be sometime next September we can introduce legislation. If you remind me or Warren or somebody, I'm sure we'll do
Okay.
that for you.
That'd be fantastic, because I think that's a really great thing to have on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seems also that it seems logical if a woman is going to or is inclined to abandon a child, if they have more time, they might say, in other words, if they've only got a week, they've got a week to make a decision where they're just emotionally trashed,
Right.
basically.
And there's so many hormones that are going on. There's a cascade of chemicals that are in a woman's body at that point. So it's really hard unless she's decided beforehand. And many people just don't even know there's a safe haven law. I mean, you didn't know there was a safe haven law?
No, actually, I kind of did. I just wasn't sure. Because I remember voting on it.
Okay.
But it was a long time. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I know it was. I'd almost guarantee it was since I've been up there.
And how long have you been there?
Too long.
Long time, huh?
Yeah. It's like Stockholm prison stuff. You know what I mean?
There's no escaping, really. I mean, you're just
It's like the Hotel California, except it's got a gold dome over the
right,
top.
right.
No, 2000 I was elected. You know Phyllis Woods?
I do, yeah.
Yes, Phyllis Woods was the pro-life, and Kathy Souza. I think she was a freshman when I was a freshman.
That's cool.
And so those are the ladies I hung out with early on, you know, in particular about subjects like this. So, yeah, I've been up there quite a while. But, yeah, I can see in other medical situations, we try to give people more time to make decisions just for that very reason. Somebody's just come out of surgery. You don't want to say, okay, well, you have to decide right now whether you're going to file suit against the hospital. How can you?
Right,
how-
7 days.
Yeah.
Pretty fast. Yeah.
It's just that is too quick. I get that.
Yeah. So tomorrow is the anniversary of Roe v. Wade.
Right.
And that's, of course, the landmark decision that just kind of opened the gates for the states to make their own decision about how they wanted to approach abortion as a
Didn't they decide that it was a privacy issue?
yeah. Yeah, there was going to be a privacy issue, right? So tomorrow, JR's bill, I think it's called An Act Providing Life Begins at Conception. It will be the focus of pro-lifers here in New Hampshire.
Right, and
And-
the anti-pro-lifers will be there in
Right, because that's going to infringe on their business.
yes.
Well, but isn't there a practical issue if you determine legislatively that life begins at conception, then you can't? I mean, doesn't that eliminate the pill? I mean, because the pill interferes with between conception and implantation, which is why some, like Newt Gingrich, for example, argues that implantation is really where the Republican Party should be going with it, because if you establish conception, then you've outlawed the pill, the most relied upon popular form of birth control in the history of the country.
I think the science is lacking on that. I don't think the science has caught up with that yet. So I don't think it would impact the pill, because the pill works in two ways. It also stops ovulation, and it also makes the uterus inhospitable. So I'm not sure that would. I mean, I don't see this. Not that I want to discourage anybody, but I don't know that we have the means to pass this bill right now anyway. Is
Right.
the way to say that. But I don't think it would impact the pill at this point in time. I really don't think we have the science enough for it. So, and I'm not, and I'm sorry, Catholic brothers and sisters, but I'm not anti
Contraception.
I'm anti birth control. So if you have a baby there already,
what?
birth control to use abortion, or like the
In other words, she's all about prevention, but once the child is conceived,
right.
it is a separate human being.
Right. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
See, I actually understood something.
Well, because I always thought birth control and contraception were the same
a
thing.
lot of people do. A lot of people use it interchangeably, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Okay,
and you
so-
can use
yeah.
birth control, and it is contraception, or you can use abortion for birth control, and it's certainly not contraception. People do use abortion as birth control.
Right. No, I understand.
So it's like if you have those little circles. What are those circles called? They overlap.
Concentric circles.
There you go. No,
Yes.
no, not concentric. There's
Oh, I'm sorry.
Venn diagram.
there you go.
Venn
A Venn
diagram,
diagram.
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
And anyway, what does the diagram have to do with it?
Well, abortion falls into birth control, and the pill falls into birth control, but birth control doesn't. I mean, contraception doesn't necessarily fall into the same category.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily.
Okay. To me, it sounds like you're playing word games with it.
No,
No.
no.
No, but that's
in other
what I'm saying.
words-
I understand your point that some people use abortion as a form of birth control, and that's wrong. I get that.
Okay.
No,
But-
but in other words, if you use a condom, you're still using birth control,
Right.
But it's contraception.
but it's contraception because she's not going to get pregnant. Period.
Okay. So, if you use
But
the
if you
pill,
kill once it's fertilized, if you kill it after the fact, then that's I've lost track.
Yeah,
I said it
I
right
think
the
you guys
first
are-
time.
It's birth control because you have a child. Is that what you're trying to say?
Huh?
It's
Well, that would be an abortion.
right.
Right.
Okay.
So in other
I
words,
don't understand why we're playing this word game.
no.
No, I don't intend to. That wasn't my intent. All I'm saying is when you say life begins at conception, and that's going to interfere with the sale of the
Are you
The
for the Plan B, the morning after pill?
Okay, well, the plan B is not what that. Okay, when you say the pill, I guess we need to define the pill to start the conversation then, because I'm thinking you're talking about the one that you take, 28 days or whatever, and 26 of them or whatever. However, I don't take the pill, so I don't know. But you take a
Right,
certain
yeah.
number of pills every single day,
You take a pill a day.
right? That's not the same as Plan B.
No, Plan B is just a very high dose of that.
Yeah, very, very, a very high dose of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the bill tomorrow, is to define a human being as basically at conception.
Right. Right. Which, I mean, that's scientific. That's obvious.
I mean,
too.
now the other thing is, if you go to the other extreme and you talk about the remember, I think we've talked about that. The professor from New York, I think he's on the panel for deciding what procedures Obamacare will cover.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I can never remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He said
Singer?
something pretty
Huh?
outrageous.
Peter Singer?
Yeah, Singer.
Okay.
He believes a child isn't a human until it's
At least two.
yeah. Well, I thought it was a year and a half, but now it's up to 2.
Yeah.
So he does until a child can, basically has self-determination. So defining what a human is probably a good idea.
Definitely, I believe so too.
Where you draw that line is another question entirely. But I think a child should have certain, protections. Period. So having the conversation can't be a bad idea.
Right. And one of the things that Life Begins at Conception would help to do is that if, let's say you had a girl on drugs, if she were pregnant, there would be 2 people there, and so there'd be more services potentially available to her, because we're
Right.
talking about saving 2 people's lives, as opposed to 1.
Or in the case of a car accident where a woman has decided to have the child,
Right.
she's 6 months pregnant, and some drunk driver hits her.
Right. Yeah.
Is it a child? Is it a human?
Right.
Most
Yeah.
people would presume yes.
Yes.
But under the law, it's nope.
Yeah.
So there's it's definitely worth having the conversation. Like you said, it's absolutely almost a guarantee veto, even if it passed the House. So it's going to be a difficult, long day tomorrow.
I guess it's a long hearing scheduled. It's
Yes,
Yeah.
they got us in a
in a double room.
double
right?
room, and I think we're scheduled from like 10 in the morning to whenever it ends, which could be 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah. That is a long.
It's going to be a
hearing,
long
yeah.
day, and I have to stay awake.
Yes. Yes. Well, they have coffee, right? Don't you have
No.
access to coffee?
No,
No.
we
That
might
doesn't seem-
recess for a while, but no, we don't. We can't have. The only thing we're allowed to have as a legislator when we're sitting there is water.
Really? That
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
seem fair. You should be able to have coffee.
No,
Wow.
no, it's pretty tough. That's why
kidding.
I use the Stockholm syndrome
Yes.
thing. It's
Yep.
it's brutal. But no, it'll be fine. What else we got going on besides?
There is a free speech bill called the Repeal of the Buffer Zone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For now, it's been around the abortion places, but a lot of libertarians believe that it could extend to other businesses in the future, so they're behind it too.
Right.
We just don't want that to be something that goes on. There's an abortion statistics bill coming up, and abortion statistics were mandated by the federal government a few years ago, and New Hampshire is one of a handful of states that doesn't comply. And of course, those are completely anonymous. All it says is,
It's
how
just
many-
numbers. It's no names, right?
Yeah, how many and what are the
Yeah, the other statistic I think they're not keeping track of anymore too is I asked the director of the corrections system in New Hampshire. I said, "What percentage of the guys you have in prison have any contact with their father?" He did not know.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Wow.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a call. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hey, man, this is Norm. Hey, I'd like to ask a young lady a question, if I may.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Do you feel that, as much as I oppose abortions, except for medical, that if a woman is married or has a boyfriend, do you feel that the man should also have a word to be able to voice his opinion to whether the child should be born or should, or whatever? Do you think the male should have an important role in deciding what's going to happen with the child, or the fetus, or whatever they want to call it?
I do, absolutely. I don't think he should force her to have an abortion. I'm
not saying him forcing her. I'm saying if she wants to have an abortion and he doesn't, my concern is, shouldn't he have a right to say no?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do agree with you. I think that usually what happens is that women don't feel like they have any options, and they don't know what they're going to do with themselves. So I think that he needs to be part of the process of figuring out what the actual problems are.
I guess Norm's taking that off the air.
He needs to be part of finding out what the problems really are and addressing those problems. Does she feel like she doesn't have the finances? Does she feel like she can't take care of the child? And so they need to work together to find what the solutions to the actual problems are. Because the child is just an innocent person, like a bystander, who seems to be caught up in the problems here. Pregnant women, as I said, they just need to have their problems solved. And usually that's not something that's as difficult as initially thought.
Right. Yeah, I think I've had a hard time with the whole premise that the male involved in the situation is required by law to provide for that child till it's 18, and yet has no say in whether the child's even born at all.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes, as time goes on, they have less and less contact with the kids too. One of the things that happens after a man and woman break up is, I think it's after, I don't know how many years, just a few years. A large percentage of the men have little, if any, contact with their children after a certain point in time.
Now, is that by choice or?
I
what?
don't know.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about like statistically.
They're talking about statistically,
okay.
and it's been too long since I read it to tell you what those numbers are, but they're actually quite high, and I don't know if it's because after they break up, there's this constant battle over custody, and eventually he just gives up, or the common belief is also that after a while he finds himself with another woman who has kids, and he ends up devoting himself to those instead. And so at any way you look at it, those little kids end up with no biological father in their lives by the time they're ready to go to college and stuff like that, or if so it's not a, and the thing is, they don't keep statistics on it. I remember I told him, I said I am willing to bet that you have a disproportionate number of young men in the prison system from Claremont, New Hampshire. And he says, yeah, how do you know that? I says, because it's a disproportionate number of children being brought up in single-parent and broken homes.
That's interesting.
Wow.
That's interesting, yeah.
And he didn't know it, which seems insane. That I guessed it. Okay, it was just a guess. I can't find
Well, it's an
those.
educated guess, obviously.
Well, plus
No, not if I guess it.
Well, I was going to say, though, to give you credit, seriously, you think of things and ways of looking at things that don't occur to most people. You really do. You have a knack for doing that. So
You're saying I'm crazy.
Maybe. But you do. You kind of see things other people miss. I've noticed that. I wish I could think of some other examples, but you do. So I'm not totally surprised that you guessed that and turned out to be right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it seems insane that we don't keep those numbers. How can you arrive at policy or arrive at
Right.
or try to come up with a solution if you can't even analyze the problem? You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, so we got what other stuff you excuse me working on?
There is a rights of conscience for medical professionals. So some people who,
I really agree with that.
yeah.
I don't
too.
know about the practical ramifications of it, but just the idea that somebody could be forced to. It's like Catherine talking about her experience in the abortion mill in Boston. I can't imagine what it must do to somebody's head who's like, has a finds it morally repugnant, and then is forced to do it. It's just.
Jen was telling me, because Kathy Souza last week discussed this, and Jen was saying that because she used to work in the medical profession, that this isn't really an issue, because typically, like, she's seen people who, like nurses who didn't want to participate in blood transfusions, for example, because maybe their religion doesn't allow for that. They're able to opt out of that, not being involved in that, and it's never a problem. Everyone understands, and that's fine. So I wonder if that's actually a solution in search of a problem. Because from her experience, this isn't really a problem in the medical profession. No one's forced to do anything that their beliefs or their conscience won't allow them to do.
I'm forced to sit through a bunch of hours of testimony tomorrow.
Without coffee.
Without coffee.
Which I think violates the Geneva Convention. But that's different.
Well,
You're not in the medical
Maybe
field.
it's a Colombian convention.
Maybe. Oh, yes.
Juan Valdez is gonna test. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't have any personal knowledge of this going on, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's actually if that's going to pass, that's actually going to be a requirement. You have to find in any situation, if you're going to
some examples.
pass legislation, you have to come
Find
up
a
with people
reason.
that have said, well, they forced me to do A, B, C, and D. You know what I mean? So,
I've heard of stories across the country, but I don't know about here in New Hampshire.
right. Well, it's still across the country. It's still relevant.
Oh, okay.
You know, it'd be better if they were from New Hampshire, but it's like they keep introducing a bill in judiciary to eliminate the ability for the state police or local police to take your property without, because in the drug dealers, when a drug dealer they find out this guy's dealing drugs out of his house and they've accrued all this wealth.
Yeah.
Under the law, they can take that and then sell it and use it for for other things, for law enforcement.
Yeah, they seize everything without due process.
They seize everything, but I don't think they can sell it until after due process.
Maybe. I don't know. I've heard cases of people not getting things back afterward.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they came back and they said that we have to pass this law.
Yeah.
But the only example they came up with where it was being abused was in Massachusetts by the state police, where there was a motel, and there was drug dealing going on in the motel, but it wasn't the guy who owned the place. It was, if you own a motel, I'm sure there's all kinds of nefarious things.
You can't be responsible for everything that goes on
and,
there. Yeah.
And so the state police apparently, I don't know that for a fact, but that's what the testimony was. The state police says, "Oh, well, he's, this is what's going on." And that's, he doesn't owe any money on that thing. If we took that right now, that's $1 million property. So they saw that as an opportunity to take somebody's property. But and that would be an abuse of the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was no real evidence that there was being abused in New Hampshire, so
Right.
it was kind of hard to pass it just because it might be abused.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But, Darlene, it's been a pleasure. I'm different than other people. I really hold certain people in high esteem, but I don't hold people in high esteem because they've made $1 million or things like that. That doesn't impress me. What really impresses me is people who have overcome horrendous hurdles. And through the grace of God, you have, and you are an awesome person, and I am blessed to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you. That's definitely goes both ways because I know you've been through some serious stuff, especially in the last couple of years.
Talk
with
about
the-
my mental disorders.
Yes. Really quick before we run out of time, we should mention, because we didn't get into your story, but you were with us last year. So if people want to go to IPMNation.com and go to the Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades page and click last year's archives, because it was around the same time last year that you were
It
on,
was,
right?
yeah.
It was in January. So if you go back and find the show we had Darlene on a year ago, you talked extensively about your story, and it is quite a story, and you have been through a hell of a lot. So I really respect you. I echo what Gary said.
Well, thank you.
You know
very
what
much.
you've been through. It was quite an ordeal. So good for you.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to
Absolutely.
be here.
You're awesome. Okay, see you next week.
Bye, everybody.